All right, so do I call, I'll call it to order the historic, I actually don't. This is the meeting where I don't.
All right, then in that case, I will call the meeting to order for January 10th, 2024, the HLC special meeting. We will begin with roll call.
Right. Chair Grumbine,
Present?
Vice Chair House,
Here.
Commissioner Butler,
Here.
Commissioner Dordan,
Here.
Commissioner Drury,
Here.
Commissioner Insberg is absent, Commissioner Lindvik,
Present.
Commissioner McClure,
Here.
Commissioner Uli.
Present.
We have a quorum, thank you.
So we will move on to general business. The first item of business is the 2024 election of chair and vice chair. Do I have a nomination for chair?
I would like to nominate Anthony Grumbine for chair.
Second.
Third.
All right, we will do a roll call vote.
All right, I'll proceed with roll call vote. Commissioner Dordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Drury,
Aye.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindvik,
Yes.
Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner McClure,
Yes.
Vice Chair House,
Yes.
Chair Grumbine.
Abstain.
Motion passes.
All right.
And I will now turn it over to our new chair.
All right. Thank you. So I would like to nominate Commissioner House.
What's his name?
For vice chair. Yeah. Sorry.
Second.
Commissioner Steve. All right. And who was the second?
I did.
Commissioner Drury?
Yes.
All right. All right. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Drury,
And pardon my
Yes.
interruption. So just for Commissioner Ensberg's knowledge, we are voting on a nomination for vice chair for Commissioner House. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll proceed with roll call vote. Commissioner Drury,
Yes.
Commissioner Insberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindvik,
Yes.
Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner McClure,
Yes.
Commissioner Dordan,
Yes.
Vice Chair House,
Abstain.
Chair Grumbine.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. Great. Okay, we are on to item B, 2024 appointment of consent review representatives and subcommittees. So, we have our list. Oh, great. Okay. So we don't have anyone new, so we don't do the new person shuffle in terms of getting them onto different subcommittees. So maybe I'll open it up to see if there's anyone that wants to be on a subcommittee there or not, and/or has any other discussion that they want to shift around the names, our names. We're volunteer for other stuff, so.
Stuff.
Chair Grumbine.
Yes, Commissioner Ansberg.
I'm interested in helping Commissioner Drury on the sign committee. We haven't had much action or anything, but I would be happy to help.
Okay. What's our,
Thank you, Chair Grumbine and then Commissioner Ensberg. So we're in a unique situation. I can just share that we have 3 sign committee members, which in the recent past, it's been really difficult to recruit for sign committee. But we do have 3 right now. But Mr. Drury has consistently been an alternate for the HLC, and it always helps to have another alternate. And again, if anything comes up, if we don't have quorum, happy to, be added. But I can't promise that there will be much action as the HLC alternate, just due to having three committee members.
and I guess I would ask for Vice Chair House, because you're in the current alternate position, will you be up for swapping out?
That would be fine with me.
Okay. Commissioner Ensberg, does that sound good? You'll be the official alternate now?
If it's okay with Commissioner House, I'd be happy to do that.
I don't think I got called to action in the entirety of last year, so you're not going to see much action, but yeah, it's fine
Well,
with me.
there's historic sandwich signs that,
Keep you out of the action.
Thank you.
all right. Okay, great. So we'll make that change. And then others, we'll just go through. We have for consent, we have architecture, housing, Grumbine as alternate, and McClure and Butler as alternate for landscape. All that sounds good still, everyone? Okay, sign committee we just talked about. Designations, Dordan, Uli, and Lenvik, and McClure with Drury as an alternate. That's all still sounding good? Okay, design awards, This is the old, probably the old one before it got
Yes, I believe this is out of
stricken
date.
from-
Although we're still working on it.
Okay,
There's effort afoot.
okay. Now, and I don't know if the design awards is, I don't know if we technically call it a subcommittee, though. What do we, where are we with it?
Thank you for the question. So about last year at this time, we, as the city attorney's office, city clerk's office, everyone in charge of overseeing all the city's advisory boards, there's kind of a scan of all the extra stuff that was going on across advisory boards, and lots of committees, subcommittees, working groups, task force were created without necessarily the council's know. And so I think the effort was to try to condense some of that and to really make sure that the city attorney's office was clear on that. So right now, this list in front of us, these are the ones that are designated, that I should say designated, but that are understood to be subcommittees or formal groups. The ad hoc subcommittees, they're generally there for one purpose, and once the project or policy or plan is implemented, then they disband. But then clearly with the HLC designation subcommittee, that's an ongoing subcommittee, with our Mills Act contracts and different designating resources. That's just what you can expect to be going on. So we might have new things that come up, and depending on the kind of the creation or like design awards, if there was something to come from council, we would have to look at that again. But right now,
So-
I wouldn't want to
You can drop it.
designate
Yeah.
anybody for that at this time.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. And then if there was someone that had an idea that wanted a design award or something like that, then they might come here, talk to us, get something, and then go on to city council, as
That's-
opposed to an actual structured thing.
Right, and, and I think I may have mentioned this to the commission, that if there was, an interest in kind of reviving certain things, that we'd really want the direction from city council, and you all are welcome to approach. And I think Commissioner Uli has
work
been
on it.
active.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so we'll go on to ad hoc subcommittees, subject to design standards, Grumbine, Levick, Uli, and Dorden as the alternate. All that sounds good still? I know we didn't meet last year, but there might be something in the future. All right, and then State Street Advisory, we have Lenvik and Dorden as the alternate. And then Plaza de la Guerra, we have Drury and House.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if needed, I'd be interested in being alternate to the Plaza de la Guerra design, just
Okay.
to
Yep,
back up.
sounds good. Great, and then State Street Interim Working Group, we have Grumbine, Ensberg, and McClure. So, and that's still good with everyone? All right. Any other discussion of subcommittee?
Mr. Chair, just to answer your question about the objective design and development standards, so I would expect in this year that there will possibly be, maybe not the small group, but that HLC in general will have more input on that as it comes through, because our contract will end, I think, at the end of the year, sometime in the late fall, so that should be coming through as part, and it's also identified in the housing element update, so.
Great, and that's
That
the
will be more
consultant,
activity.
Opticos, working on developing that.
Correct, so staff
Okay.
and Opticus
staff, yep.
will do that.
Okay, great.
Chair
All right,
Grumbine.
yes, Commissioner Ensberg.
To add to that, I do know that there is a meeting scheduled in late February that's going to be here in this room for, about the objective design development standards. So, yeah, it is
Okay.
moving forward.
Great. Okay. All right, anything else on the subcommittees? All right, let's move on to.
Do we need a motion of any kind, or is
Oh,
it
yeah.
just happens?
I don't believe we need a motion
Right,
for
okay.
the elections.
We just agree and move on. Nothing gets appealed to city council. All right, item C, public comment. So, all right,
All right, thank you, Chair Grumbine. At this time, I don't have any speaker slips, but if you do wish to speak in person, you can fill out a speaker slip by the back door. I'm not seeing any movement, so I'll go ahead and move to virtual public comment. If you wish to speak on Zoom at this time, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you. I'm not seeing any hands raised, and we didn't receive any general written correspondence, so I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Grumbine.
All right. Okay, well, on to item D, approval of the minutes of Historic Landmarks Commission meeting for December 20th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Uli. Second by Commissioner Drury. Under discussion, do we have any edits?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Drury?
on page 1, Mr. Hernandez's name was left off, first name, so we should add the Nicole to who was present.
Pardon my interruption, Mr. Chair. Our standard formatting for this is if they're listed under the staff area here, we just list the last name. The reason Ted's name is here is because he was substituting for me, so he's not listed under our regular staff. And then Ms. Esparza was substituting for our regular secretary, so that's why that is the reason for that formatting.
But sharp eye.
Yes.
Oh, just on task.
All right, Commissioner Ensberg, did you have something?
Yeah, I had a question about item number 2. It seemed like there might be, let's see. Is there something, this is the 1925 State Street, and it goes along, and I know we reviewed it and we approved it, and we had comments which seem to be on the next page. I don't understand the 11 West Mission Street Historic Significance Report. Was that really part of this? Or am I just
Pardon my
forgetting?
interruption, Mr. Chair. So you can see in the project description, the project is adjacent to 11 West Mission Drive. So when a project is adjacent to an historic resource, we sometimes include the historic significance report, so that way you can consider compatibility with surrounding historic resources. So that's the reason for that historic significance report being linked right there. And then for the conditions that were included in your motion, you can see the compatibility analysis is included right there, and then the conditions are listed below.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other edits, questions, discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Butler,
Yes?
Commissioner Lindvik,
Yes.
Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner McClure,
Yes.
Commissioner Dordian,
Yes.
Commissioner Drury,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes.
Vice Chair House.
Yes.
Chair Grumbine.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, we have item E, approval of the consent calendar of January 10th, 2024.
Motion to approve calendar.
Second?
All right, motion by Commissioner Uli, second by Commissioner, oh my gosh, sorry.
Butler.
Butler.
See, I
It's been a long year. Sorry.
You can move back to your other spot.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
It's the
Yeah, I'm going
shifting-
downhill.
It's the shifting
Yeah.
around has totally upset you.
That's true. Okay, and then for the consent calendar to staff.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. Item A was 1031 State Street, which received project design approval and final approval with the condition that the knuckles are to match those existing, and the following findings, which were the project compatibility analysis findings and the Hillside Design District findings. Item B was 2174 Mission Ridge Road, which received project design approval and final approval with project compatibility findings and Hillside Design District findings. And I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The first one was minor alterations findings. And then item C was postponed to January 31st at the applicant's request. And item D received project design approval and final approval with project compatibility analysis findings and Hillside Design District findings.
All right, and just for the comment, so you all know, you saw the item D, which was the skate ramp project. It really hadn't changed at all. They just added a few more additional photos and information, but nothing much, and selections of materials, but nothing much changed. Nothing changed from the design that everyone saw, but there was at least several neighbors that were concerned, and we encouraged them to work with them for landscape screening or other things, but that everything that had been presented was that was within our purview was acceptable for the historic resource. So just so that you all know, because it was on the controversial side of things, having people that were objecting to it. Okay. So we have the motion and second for the consent. Any other discussion for the consent calendar? And Commissioner McClure, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
No, nothing to add.
All right. In that case, let's have a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Linvik,
Yes.
Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner McClure,
Yes.
Commissioner Dordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Drury,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Vice Chair House.
Yes, and I should, abstain on item D, because I had a conflict, yes.
Chair Grumbine,
Aye.
motion passes.
All right. Okay, we are on to item F, announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, and appeals.
Just one brief announcement from staff. It was announced at the last hearing that 3204 Calle Pinon was postponed to today's hearing, but it has been postponed indefinitely at the applicant's request.
And Mr. Chair, a couple announcements. I just want to say Happy New Year. It's great to see everybody here at HLC. If it wasn't formally announced at the last, I know Heidi wasn't able to attend the last meeting, but I do want to acknowledge Commissioner Drury was reappointed by City Council to the HLC for an additional appointment, so congratulations. Well, I'm glad. I try to keep people in the know of when applications are due. And then I just want to acknowledge that there's Rebecca Bjork, our city administrator, retired at the end of December. You probably saw some articles about that. Our interim city administrator is Sarah Connect, whom you probably know as the city attorney. And then Assistant City Attorney Tava Ostringer is currently the acting city attorney. So there will be more information and hiring and news about that, but just to kind of give you a heads up. And looking forward to working with you all on lots of different interesting projects and plans and things moving forward this year. And then I know we have Tess Harris here who also would like to make an announcement.
Chair Grumbine, can I ask a question before we move to?
Sure, yeah.
To Ms. Kokinda. So will Tava Ostringer continue to be our link for the attorney, or will somebody else
She has
step
bigger
in?
fish to
Since
fry.
everybody's shifting chairs.
Yes, and I think we're also conscious of how much kind of what it means to be city attorney and going just beyond her normal massive workload to an even more massive workload. So yes, she's still representing community development, and the city attorney's office will be looking at their capacity and identifying maybe for certain initiatives, they'll be able to potentially assign someone else. But no, Tava remains, or Ms. Ostringer remains to be our main connection.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Great. Good afternoon, commissioners. It's nice to be before you today. So I'm just going to make a quick announcement. I do know that during the December 20th meeting that all of you had made a request for an update on the State Street Master Plan, or State Street in general, at this meeting. So that is why I'm here before you today. We do not have an update to provide you today, but we will have a staff memo that will be coming out to you, likely will be sent to you tomorrow morning, that will sort of go through some of the things that I will touch upon. And I want to reiterate that should you have any questions after you read it, or after I make comments, you're more than welcome to contact me directly, either by phone or email, and I'm happy to have an individual conversation with any of you about the overall process. Really, I want to start out with kind of what's been going on with the State Street Advisory Committee. So the State Street Advisory Committee was appointed back in July of 2021 by Council to be the recommending body to City Council for this overall master plan, the overall vision framework for downtown. Other committees certainly are in the process and will be providing comments and feedback, including the Historic Landmarks Commission, and that is listed in our scope of work as well. And so where we are in the process right now, the State Street Advisory Committee, right now we took a pause for the committee. And the primary focus of that, or reason for that, was because staff really needs the time to compile all of the information that we've received so far from the public, from various meetings, to really put out an outline and draft of of where we've gotten to date and also where some of the holes are, where some of the things are that we need to get additional feedback and comments on. So that's what staff is working on over the next couple months. I do anticipate that the State Street Advisory Committee will be reconvening again, either at the end of February or in March. In the interim time between now and that point in time, we will be reaching out to individual State Street Advisory Committee members to get their feedback on some of the different elements of the plan. That includes the HLC Commissioner, Commissioner Lenvik, that is on the State Street Advisory Committee. And so that I will be sending out a notice to the State Street Advisory Committee members, just letting them know that I would like to have some individual conversations before we regroup as a whole. In addition, during the last meeting that the State Street Advisory Committee had, one of the items mentioned by the chair of that committee, Chair Davis, was that staff really connect with Chair Grumbine and talk about how we can get to a point in the process where we are refining design, where we're looking at renderings and vignettes in a way that really feels more like the Santa Barbara community. And so that is what staff has been doing so far. We have been working with Chair Grumbine. He has brought together some others as well that have worked through the AIA design charrette back in 2020. And so, and really that focus is on some of the design refinement that will help complement the technical analysis and technical framework that our MIG consulting team is working on. So all of that will come back along with with some of the text for starting conversations with the State Street Advisory Committee as the recommending body, and then we will be coming to the Historic Landmarks Commission and Planning Commission to get your comments and feedback, as well as the overall public during a public comment period. I think that is sort of where I will leave it. If you have questions, I can answer questions. We're not going to get into discussion today because it's not an item on the agenda. But again, I am more than happy to have a conversation with any of you to talk about the process. I know that you are all interested in being involved in the process. The one other thing I will mention is that the State Street Master Plan is really that. It is a vision for downtown. It is the overall framework for what downtown could become in the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. From that, we are planning to take individual design projects, so whether that be each block or each district, that will come before you, similar to how Plaza de la Guerra has come before you, and you will be the body that will make a decision on each of those design projects. And at that point, there'll be a lot more detail and design focus. Really, at the stage we are in right now, we are trying to work out the higher level pieces on really the framework for downtown as a whole before we dive into the design details. So I do want you to know that it will come to you multiple times for your input, and also ultimately for your decision with each of those projects. If there are any questions, I am happy to take a couple. Again, just making sure we don't get into discussion.
Yes, and if I could just kind of reiterate that, Ms. Ostringer wasn't able to be here today, but I think we just want to really make sure that, again, we can take a couple of questions, but not open this up for any kind of discussion.
And maybe as a tied point to that, I did want to ask that, and we had discussed this, I had brought this up in discussion at the end of December, of looking at a time this month to actually have a State Street discussion. And I would ask that I know that this next agenda is probably too late and also maybe full for next week, because we're doing this as a special one, but maybe the end of January that we have it itemized, and we can talk about what our purview actually is, because I think that part of the frustration has been that the purview was designated to a separate commission or committee that's not Historic Landmarks Commission. So that has been some things are going to be in our purview, some things are not, but at least have a space where we can have a discussion in public and also have clear delineation of what is our purview and what isn't, and the reasoning behind it and what the structure is that has been created, and as well for what the current situation is and what each of the commissioners are feeling in terms of what they're seeing and what they're hoping for and thinking of for the future for State Street and downtown and whatever, but just have that space where we can have a good conversation, even if it's stuff like things that might be either on the border of our purview or not even in our purview, but at least a space where we can quickly and succinctly discuss it and at least have had that discussion. And I think it'll also be a good time for staff to also be able to weigh in on things that are not in our purview and why, and whose purview they are in, and how those mechanisms are going to work. So I think that might be a helpful and good, as long as you all are okay with coffee and late night, no pizza.
Yes, Chair Grumbine, Commissioners, so that is something that I think we can work towards. I do want to make sure that we have Ms. Ostringer here as well for that conversation, especially when we're talking about purview of the different, of the commission and of the State Street Advisory Committee. I think if we do a discussion item like that, I would encourage the commission to provide comments and feedback if you have feedback specific to the master plan process. I think when we open it up to State Street in general, both interim and long-term, it becomes a lot. And a lot of times people mix the two up a bit. So I would really encourage that we stick to one. The other thing I will mention is at this point, really, there is not much for staff to present. So if you have not been following or you want to get sort of a recap of what's been shown before, I would encourage you to go to the State Street Master Plan website, and I'm happy to send that to you beforehand as well, to look at some of the different meeting agenda items and PowerPoint presentations and all of that. But I would be here really just to hear the feedback and comments, and to take, and I can hear it and then make the State Street Advisory Committee aware that you are all having this discussion as well. And we would treat it in a way, at this point, similar to public comment. So the HLC would be providing comments, and we will take those in as part of the process.
Great. And I also think that could be a good forum for us giving feedback to Commissioner Lenvik and Commissioner Dorton as our representatives at the State Street Advisory Committee, so that that we can have that public discussion and agreements where we agree on things and disagreements where we disagree on things, but at least, and also if there are clear and obvious things that we want Commissioner Lenvik to fight for or against or with or whatever, we can have those conversations and at least talk about it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
I would hope that discussion would be well-structured, because I can just see it
Yeah.
getting stuck in the mud, and,
Yeah.
it will not be productive or fruitful.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe we can work together on a little outline of key
Yeah.
topics, and we can move things along, and everyone can have their say on things, and then we can, keep it moving without going in circles.
That sounds good, Chair Grumbine. I would suggest, I'm happy to work with you on that ahead of time. I would suggest that the commission I will be here to hear it, but that the commission really have the discussion pretty much with the other commission members, that I'm not interacting too much with the commission during that meeting. Really, because at this point, we are happy to take the feedback, but we are going to be working on compiling that draft, and I want to make sure that the State Street Advisory Committee is hearing items first as the recommending body as well. So just as long as that's understood by the commission, I think that's something we can work out.
Okay, great. All right, and I'm sure we're not as difficult cats to hurt as city council, so. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
And I think that should kind of conclude announcements. I don't have anything else to announce other than appeals. I wouldn't be surprised if the item D on today's consent calendar does get appealed, and so we'll be tracking that. But there's still a 10-day calendar window for that. We'll keep you updated.
Thank you. All right, others with announcements?
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Vice Chair
Shouldn't be a
House.
problem, but I would like to leave by 3.
All right,
Mr. Chair, 3:40s for me.
okay.
Mr. Chair, I need to leave at 3:05.
So you're the first one.
Everybody follow me?
Well, let's keep it marching then, and then, sorry, Commissioner Ensberg.
Yes, Chair Grumbine, I can be here for the full meeting.
In that case, let's order pizza.
I wanted to share with you all that the Community Environmental Council has reached out to a number of, to me, and I believe Chair
Yeah,
Grumbine.
to myself as well.
They are working on this document, which I can hand over to look.
Sure, I'll put it to City
Let me
TV.
just read this first.
Oh.
It's an ecological framework for revitalizing the Santa Barbara City core. So they're working on sustainability, the kinds of things that they typically work on, and wanted to reach out
City
to
TV, if you can, oh, yeah.
to HLC to have us be aware of it. And as it seems that it's very pertinent and to, the work that is being done in the EPV, and could possibly dovetail into the discussions that we are hoping to have, that we were just talking about. So I wanted to let you all know that they had reached out and they asked, for input about how they might, how they could interact with HLC. And I suggested that they perhaps come to one of the meetings this month, since we have extra meetings, come to speak at the general public comment, and they can basically say, introduce this so the rest of you can hear what they had to say about it, and then possibly find a way that they might even be agendized. And I don't know how that would be. Maybe Ms. Kokinda could talk about that, or when they come. But it seems to me that it's very relevant to all the things we're talking about, just like, everything's related, it's all tied together, and it's very helpful information that could help us as we're talking about the other aspects that are under our purview as HLC. So I told them I would make this announcement just to let everybody know, and they will probably be coming next week and speak during the general public comment. And then if there is a way, I don't know if they would just apply for, to be agendized, or if whether we could do that as part of this other effort we're trying to do to have the discussion. I don't know, but to be determined, and any feedback would be greatly appreciated.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Ensberg. All right. Any other announcements, et cetera? All right. Great. Let's go on to item G, subcommittee reports. So signs, designations, State Street Advisory, Plaza de la Guerra, objective design standards. Any meetings over Christmas, New Year's?
No report by designations.
All right. Any others? Okay. We are done with subcommittees, and we are on to item 1. A little bit behind here, but, all right, this is 126 East Cannon Perdido Street. This is located in El Pueblo Viejo District and designated structure of merit. Jimmy's Oriental Gardens restaurant was designed in 1946 by Roy Cheeseman in the vernacular style. Proposed temporary mural painted of the west exterior wall of the building. The mural will be painted by local Filipino artist DJ Javier to celebrate the Chinese Year of the Dragon, and will be unveiled at a Lunar New Year community event on February 9th, 2024. At this event, Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation will also host a community art show and event at El Presidio State Historic Park featuring other local Asian American Pacific Islanders artists. The selected artists will bridge ethnic and generation differences in Santa Barbara's AAPI community. These projects are designed to raise awareness about and to showcase the AAPI community's historical and current cultural contributions to the greater Santa Barbara community. These projects are funded by a Stop the Hate grant for California State Department of Asian Health Services grant to Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation. Request comments on size and location of the mural. Content is exempt from Historic Landmarks Commission review. And although I haven't been a part of any of the, obviously on the Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation, although I haven't been on any part of this discussion for these things, I'll just, and to double check and to make sure that Ms. Ostringer and everyone's happy, I'll step down from this if you'll take over.
Certainly. If you would give your names for the record, please, and then your presentation.
And Mr. Vice Chair, if I could just interrupt ever so briefly, you'll see a couple things that we weren't really super explicit. We just said it's exempt from, the content is exempt from HLC purview. It's due to First Amendment rights. And so that's really just the size and location as part of this courtesy review is what they're looking for feedback or comments on. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you. Okay.
Vice Chair House, I left a message this morning about this. I'm also a member of the trust, but I don't know anything about this particular project, so I would like to, if it's okay, I don't feel conflicted, but if you feel like it would be better for me to recuse myself, I will.
I don't think
But-
it matters for members.
Not my call, it's staff's.
I feel, forgive me if I missed a message
That's
from
okay.
you,
Please.
and wasn't able to advise you earlier. I think if you are on the trust or a member, then it could be, I mean, there's no actionable item on this. You know, you could maybe ask questions, but might refrain from comments, or if it would, make you, the cleanest thing to do would be to abstain, but I think that if you just want to listen in, ask questions, but no comments as part of the discussion, I feel like that would probably be acceptable because there's no decision, there's no appealable action that's happening.
Sound good?
I'm not on the board, I just
Yeah.
am a member.
Yeah, I think having that disclosure, I think that,
You're not on the board, you're just a member of the trust?
I'm just a member of the trust.
So am I, so we all have to
Thank
recuse.
you.
I know, I
Okay.
think,
I don't
so
think we
that's
have a
where
conflict.
All have to
I'm.
leave the room.
Yeah. Since
think-
it's not
why don't you-
actionable, I agree with you.
I don't
It's-
think it's, I think you can stay for the, I think it's, well,
I can participate.
I think you can
Yeah.
participate.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Just
Okay.
want to be sure. Thank you.
Good disclosure, though.
get in trouble, it's on me.
Yeah, okay. Names for the record, please, and then your presentation.
Mike Imwali, Associate Executive Director for Cultural Resources for the Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation.
Ann Peterson, Executive Director at the Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation. I also want to introduce Therese Chin, who's in the front row. She is the co-chair of the Asian American Affinity Group for the Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation.
Thank you. Who's presenting?
I guess I am. This is not my project either, but I get to be the applicant all the time. So for those of you not familiar with the location of the proposed mural, it's located within El Presidio de Santa Barbara State Historic Park in the small courtyard adjacent to El Cortel on the south-facing, it says west-facing, but it's actually south-facing wall of Jimmy's Oriental Gardens. And it would be painted on this representative section of that elevation. A photograph of the same area, this enclosure will be taken down very soon. And there it is. The mural itself is going to depict an image of a dragon to commemorate the Year of the Dragon, and it will be debuted on the Lunar New Year in 2024. The artwork will be done by local artist DJ Javier, who has done a number of murals. He's done artwork for the Trust Asian American Affinity Group. He's done an Asian heritage mural for the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles. Needless to say, we had to blur all the artwork out, so it's just a bunch of colors, but that's the location. So we would appreciate any comments you might have on the size and location.
Thank you.
And Mr. Vice Chair, if I may ask the applicant, so I understand this is a temporary mural. Can you please give the dates to the commission?
It's 1 year. It'll coincide with the Year of the Dragon. So next Lunar New Year in 2025, it'll be overpainted.
Okay. Thank you. If that concludes your presentation, we'll move on to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair House. At this time, I don't have any requests to speak, but if you do wish to speak on this item, you can fill out a speaker slip by the back door. I'm not seeing any movement, so I'll go ahead and move to virtual public comment at this time. If you wish to speak on Zoom, you can raise your hand and I'll call on you. I'm not seeing any hands raised, and we also did not receive any written correspondence for this item, so I'll turn it back over to you, Vice Chair House.
Thank you. We will proceed with questions from the commission. Commissioner McClure.
I have a question. Will the background be white? And then secondly, will there be a clean, like a border around it, or will it just fade into the building?
That's a really good question for the artist. I'm assuming that there will be some white background based on his other artwork. They have had a field behind the actual subject of the artwork. In the case of the Los Angeles Rams mural, it was a blue background, but he's going to work with the white background.
I was just wondering if it would have sort of an edge to it, or if the image will just fade to the white and just be kind of cartoon-like rather than finished.
I think it'll be finished, but I really can't answer that question.
Thank you.
I am aware that he is especially interested in using the gabled portion of the wall, so that it probably will either have head or tail element of the dragon going up into that section of the wall.
Thank you. Commissioner Ensberg.
Chair House, thank you. Do you have any images of his work? I know he's done a number of other murals in town. Do you have any other examples for the rest of the, I've seen some of his work, but I wonder if you have anything else that the others could see as examples of his work?
We didn't bring anything, but he does have a website that you all could look up with samples on it.
Get your tablet out really fast. Any other, Commissioner Lenbeck?
So you haven't seen the mural?
He's presented 3 concepts to us, and we approved one of them. This was on Friday.
So why are we looking at a blurred mural?
Because the artwork is, as I understand it, not under your purview. So we are trying to help convey the size and shape of the mural and the location of the mural. for your review.
Mr. Vice Chair, may I jump into that question to Commissioner Lenvick's question? So that was direction from the city attorney's office. So is to not open it up, to not kind of get into First Amendment content conversations. The recommendation from the city attorney's office was to ask for this courtesy review for the applicant to blur the artwork so it doesn't, again, lead into that. So they were just following a city attorney request.
Understood. Well, I hear what you're saying. The city attorney is now governing all the actions of the Landmarks Commission.
No.
All the actions of the
No,
Landmarks
I
Commission.
mean, to go back several years, there was a committee formed from numerous commission and design review board members, as well as realtors and business and stuff like that, because the whole sign ordinance was going to be rewritten to be in conformance with a Supreme Court decision. So this is consistent with that, so.
So if someone came before us.
Time, place, and manner is what we have purview over.
So who has control if someone wants to bring an all-black wall? Or someone wants to bring pornography or whatever? Who has control of that?
Can't answer that question.
Mr. Vice Chair Howes and to the commission, the HLC has purview over exterior alterations to structures in the El Pueblo Viejo, historic resources. You know, this is considered art. It's protected under the First Amendment. I'm not an attorney, but again, this is something that our city attorney's office is trying to protect the commission and not to get into content conversations. So again, that was the direction that the applicants were given in order to avoid that. So it's not, each case is different. Exterior color changes, of course, you all know that is within your purview. And there are different aspects of the law that address art, First Amendment rights, pornography, what have you, signs. So it's, we address each case individually, and we try to answer some of these questions ahead of time so we don't put the commission in a situation that compromises the work that you do.
One last point. I suppose
Is it a question?
Yeah, is it a question?
yeah, to the staff. I suppose if an applicant brought in a really, really, really ugly building and said, you have no review authority over this because this is my First Amendment right to produce this really, really ugly building in Santa Barbara.
Don't go there.
Not the same, I don't.
No, I hope it's not the same, but the city attorney is making up rules here that we cannot.
Mr. Vice Chair,
comment on any-
I would say we should probably keep going with questions.
Mr.
And
Chair.
if I could just make one brief interruption, if we want to switch to this screen, I did manage to pull up an article from The Independent with some examples of DJ Javier's work. So you could see an example of what the mural might look like and how it might fade into the background, so we can refocus.
If nobody objects, we can do that. It seems to me rather irrelevant because we don't need to know what kind of art he produces in order to.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. I think maybe just for sake of conversation, this exhibit would have been better if it was just an outline with no color or no nothing on it, because really what we're being asked is the size of the image appropriate to the building? Is the placement of it appropriate to the location? Do we think that this image is going to impact a state historic landmark which it's facing? You know, those kinds of things. So black outline would have been just as fine, and we avoid all of this other content business. Just a
It would
point.
still come up.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it is,
Yeah.
but nonetheless.
Okay. Shall we move on with other questions?
Well, I have one question.
Okay.
So doesn't Arts Advisory look at this? Not, I agree with what you're saying, this isn't our thing, it's not this, but doesn't this go through Arts Advisory?
Mr. Vice Chair, to the commission, the Arts Advisory Committee looks at art in public places. This is on a private property. This is under the trust's private property. And so, again, any exterior alteration, as you were familiar with, is under HLC purview. So this, there are a variety of public murals and different things that the Arts Advisory Committee is, supported, or there's like a process, but I don't think this was simply something to celebrate the Lunar New Year and that they wanted to bring forward the applicants from the trust to celebrate. So I don't think, and as you've heard, there's a vetting process for the actual design and content that it goes through.
For that matter, isn't all of this state-owned land? Yeah, so we don't have purview over state property either, I don't think, so. Anyway, let's move on with.
All right.
Any other questions? Commissioner Jordan?
Good.
Okay.
Is it your understanding that Figure 5 shows us the size of the mural? I ask that because that wall's not flat.
That's right. There's a step about 4.5 to 5 feet
Yeah.
up the wall where there's a lower wall.
Can we return to the elevation view?
Yeah.
Elevation drawings? Oh,
You
okay.
can see
that one's a good one.
there's a metal flashing over the top of the old hollow clay tile wall, which is,
Okay, and there are boarded up windows also?
there are.
Okay,
Some of them are glass block painted over, 2 of them are boarded over.
okay. Did you have a
My
follow-up
next question is, are you confident that the materials used to create the mural will not damage the historic property?
Yeah, we're using the same paint that's on there.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may follow up on that, because do we know what the current condition of that wall is? And is the surface going to require some preparation previous to the application of the paint?
Cleaning,
Just cleaning?
yep.
Okay. The fence that's indicated on the far right there, will that remain in place or will that be removed?
That's coming down this week probably.
Commissioner Uli, did you have a
Yes.
question?
Do you anticipate an interpretive panel of any kind to tell people who are walking by what this is all about?
We don't have any signage planned on site, but we'll be doing a tremendous amount of publicity for this. We'll be doing related public programs. We'll have information on our website, our blog, and we'll put it out extensively in the media.
Thanks.
I was actually interested in seeing the elevation drawing that she's been drawing. That's okay. So we see the location of those windows that are boarded up. What is the significance of where the mural ends at the right end there? And
Of that-
why is it necessary to take out that fence? I'm just curious about.
The fence was there as an enclosure to conceal the patio furniture that Three Pickles was using as their parklet, which they are ceasing to use, so that is going to go away. And the reason the mural stops at that point is that's where the vertical wall around the perimeter of the post office property is.
Okay.
So that's the corner of the
So
courtyard.
it's not arbitrary is what I was getting
Yeah,
at.
it's-
There's a logical
it's-
end to the mural.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Drury?
I take Commissioner Uli's comments to heart, and I'm completely for this mural. I can't wait till it goes up. You know, it'll be a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Other comments?
I agree. I'm very excited about it. I am familiar with this artist, and I think he's absolutely brilliant. And I think this will be a really amazing thing that will be very powerful and appropriate.
Throw that
And,
man out of the room.
and yeah, to celebrate this Year of the Dragon, I think it's a really great idea. I love it.
Mr. Chair, as a temporary installation, I'm supportive of the application.
Other comments down here?
Yes, Mr. Chair, as, again, to echo other comments, I'm very supportive of this as a temporary exhibition. A number of issues have been raised in the questioning period, and I just want to say that the Santa Barbara Trust for Historic Preservation is a well-known organization with an extensive history in this city, and that is part of the confidence I have in moving this project forward.
Thank you.
I would agree.
Okay. So there's no motion or involved in this. I think it'd be appropriate that it be specified that the term of this is for 1 year, so that that's clear. So however you want to handle that, but sounds like we're all in favor, for the most part, of this mural. And so that concludes this agenda item.
So it will be realized within the 3 to 5 days right before Lunar New Year, so we won't anybody actually see it until it's unveiled.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Good luck.
And if you see that Grumbine fellow out in the hallway, you can send him back in. I can call up the next agenda item, which is item 2, which is an archaeology report. Fiber optic installation on East Cannon Perdido Street. Located in El Pueblo Viejo, project is adjacent to the Alacama Theater, a designated city landmark. Proposed PVC fiber optic subsurface conduits for Cox Communications infrastructure. All proposed alterations will be within the public right-of-way and underground with no visual impact. Review by the Historic Landmarks Commission is not required. Project will be processed under Public Works case. Requesting acceptance of a Phase 1 archaeological resources report prepared by Ignacio Requena. Astro Consultants. Dr. Glassow reviewed the report and agrees with its conclusions and recommendations, specifically that excavations associated with the project should be monitored by an archaeologist. I trip up on that word every time, don't I? Given the possibility, although slight, that significant cultural or historical remains might be present.
And
Anybody here to present that project? Do you want to come on up?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's not, you hit it on the head. My name's,
Hang on.
Pardon my interruption. If I can, you can come on up, and while the applicant's getting settled, if I can make a brief announcement. So as you saw, we posted a revised agenda, kind of altering the information about this project. It was mistakenly listed as being on the Alacama Theater parcel, but all of the work is being done in the public right-of-way, which is why the agenda was revised. And then upon that revision, we consulted again with Dr. Glassow to see if he had any additional comments, as there was some concern from the Santa Barbara Trust about cultural resources on the All Hakama Theater property in the Presidio. So we just wanted to get additional feedback from him, and he issued a suggested condition. So I'll read that out now. His suggested condition with acceptance of the report is the rows of stones that were placed at the level of the street pavement to show the public that the Presidio walls crossed Santa Barbara Street shall be replaced when the cable trench is filled in. When replaced, they shall closely resemble their original placement. The archaeological monitor shall oversee removal of pavement and the removal and placement of the stones. So if you agree with that condition after speaking with the preparer of the report, you can include that as part of your motion.
Okay.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, so welcome. If you can introduce yourself into the mic for the record, and then give us a brief summary of your report and any response.
Sure, my name's Brian Bass. I'm also on the approved list for archaeologists for Santa Barbara City, and I work with Mr. Requena and worked on this project and helped him prepare the final report and did the peer review for him. Yeah, I mean, the comments by Dr. Glassow are in agreement. The right-of-way, the trenches that are where the Cox cable is going to go have been disturbed to varying degrees. And then there's a lot of other infrastructure in the streets and along the sidewalks too. And that is where the infrastructure, the new infrastructure is going to be placed. So, there's a very low chance that anything in situ is going to be there. But we have recommended monitoring just in case something is contacted. But as far as we understand, it's all going to be put into an existing trench subsurface, current surface. And then the other thing to remember that maybe Dr. Glassow pointed out is that the Presidio, the original Presidio grade was lowered by, well, almost 24 inches to what is now the current street. So there's a whole section of what we could call native soil that's definitely no longer there. You can kind of see it when you go up to the Presidio, and you have to kind of go up some steps into the dirt area of the front of the Presidio. So anyway, that's really about it. And I would definitely agree with that one section where the stones indicate where the wall used to be and where there's current tarmac that passes by.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, can we go to public comment now?
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. At this time, I don't have any speaker slips for this item, but if you do wish to speak in person, you can fill out a speaker slip by the back door. I'm not seeing any movement, so I'll go ahead and move to virtual public comment. If you wish to speak on Zoom at this time, you can raise your hand and I'll call on you. I'm not seeing any hands raised, and we didn't receive any written correspondence for this item, so I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Grumbine.
All right, thank you. All right, to the commission for any questions? Questions? All right. Anyone ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the report as submitted.
With
the condition. Suggested by
Second.
Dr. Glassow.
All right, and we've got a motion and a second. Under discussion, any other discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Uli?
Yes.
Commissioner Dordan?
Yes.
Commissioner McClure?
Yes.
Commissioner Drury?
Yes.
Commissioner Ensberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Butler?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindvik?
Yes.
Vice Chair House?
Yes.
Chair Grumbine?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to the last item of the agenda, 328 West Montecito Street. This is located in EPV. Project is adjacent to the Sayan Library at 316 Castillo Street, a contributing building to El Pueblo Viejo listed on the Historic Resources Inventory. Proposal for a new 9-room hotel on a vacant lot consisting of 2 buildings, one with 4 hotel rooms and the other with 5 hotel rooms. The project includes 9 parking spaces in a parking garage and storage and mechanical room spaces. A site wall around the development, a trash room, bicycle storage, roof-mounted solar panels, outdoor seating area, landscaping, and slight relocation of the existing access on West Montecito Street are also proposed. The project is proposed as an annex to the approved hotel at 302 and 308 West Montecito Street. So no final appealable action will be taking place at the meeting. Project compatibility findings will be required for project design approval. The project was last reviewed on July 6th, 2022. So welcome. if you can introduce yourself for the record, and then I'll go to the meeting minutes from July 6th.
Great, thank you very much. My name is Noah Greer. I'm an architect, and I'm here with On Design Architects.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so let's go to the minutes from
And while
July
I'm
6th, 2000.
navigating to the minutes, the case planner for this project is out sick today, so I just have a brief announcement on her behalf. This project is going to the Planning Commission for review of the development plan, and so we are looking for comments on the project compatibility analysis. When you make comments on the project, it's here for its second review.
Gotcha. Okay.
Chair Grumbine? Also, I can, this was before my being appointed to the commission, but I have been watching it, and did watch the tapes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So why don't we go, do you?
I can
Okay,
give you
got
a
it.
few.
Okay. Oh, no, sorry, I was looking at these screens, I was like, oh, it's not up. Okay, yeah, so the motion was to continue indefinitely to the full commission with the following comments. The commission understands that the stair is still in development and looks forward to seeing how it is developed. 2, the screening of the solar and mechanical equipment is acceptable based on the renderings provided. 3, the garage on the Montecito Street facade is problematic as currently designed, and especially the garage opening as proposed is unacceptable. The commission recommends pushing back the opening to at least the plane of the wall on the right-hand side and making it less strong of an element. 4, the wrought iron gate alignment shall have its own detail and logic if it is going to be a gate that is closed. The gate alignment is proposed does not respond to the actual opening of the plaster. 5, at least one commissioner would like to see additional study of the scale of the turret on the corner of other options, or other options, sorry. Some commissioners would like to see it reworked or removed. 6, the 6-foot high curving wall is acceptable. 7, the pair of gables are acceptable. 8, some commissioners find the 8-foot walls to the neighbor's side is unacceptable and too tall. When the project returns, the applicant shall provide additional detailing of how the wall transitions and how the corner goes from 6 foot to 8 foot. This detailing is important, and some commissioners may find the wall potentially acceptable with further detailing. 9, clarifying the front entry location from the street frontage. And the motion was by Uli, the second was by House 601. Manuel was absent, Drury was absent, the motion carried. All right.
I did not look at the
Okay.
And Commissioner McClure, did you happen to look at any of the recordings?
No, I did not.
All right,
Okay.
so you'll just need to, you can ask questions, but you'll have to.
Questions,
some comments.
questions only for, okay. What's that?
It's a concept review. Does that have any bearing on what he can do?
I believe the procedure is still the same,
Yeah, I
that you
think
have
so.
to have reviewed the previous
Yeah.
hearing to participate, but he can still ask questions, and then he will.
I think it may be a
For
one.
pre-application, that
Yes,
would
it would
be
be the one-time pre-app.
This
then-
is the same
Yeah,
application.
this is, yeah. All right, so, welcome. So why don't you walk us through where the design is now and how you addressed, especially how you addressed each of those comments. And you'll have 15 minutes, but you don't have to use the whole 15 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I won't, although it has been 18 months since we've been here with the project last, so I'll try to fly through a reminder of where we are in the world. We're at the corner of Castillo and Montecito Street, outlined here in red. It's a currently vacant parcel. Many, many years ago, it was a gas station. It's across from a gas station, which is across from a gas station, which is across from a liquor store currently. The neighborhood is actually really interesting, with a mix of, say, student housing and housing and hotel uses and a number of apartment complexes, a number of mixed commercial uses, et cetera. Arguably, the massing is primarily in the 1 to 2 story range. So this is a view looking maybe roughly north from Montecito Street. We're adjacent to the market that is right near the corner where this vacant parcel you see here. Looking straight at the parcel, and behind us you're seeing here the Santa Barbara Genealogical Society, north of our parcel. Okay, similar view, just showing more of the street. From the corner, diagonally, and then from the other side of Castillo Street. Okay, in terms of neighborhood exhibits, let's see, we have to add, again, a really widely varied mix of uses, building types, and styles. One story just on the other side of the market that's next to our parcel. And then some housing and apartments, and these are along West Montecito Street across from the market, more or less. Here's a 7-Eleven that's at the corner of Castillo and Market. Excuse me, additional gas station. The liquor store that I referenced before. Okay, so I'll briefly touch on the plans as we had them before, focusing primarily on the two street frontages. Along Montecito Street, we had the primary pedestrian entry coupled with the primary vehicular access. And this, we had brought forward, and we introduced this tower element that transitioned into this balcony element on the second floor. And we've improved that greatly per your commission's feedback by removing it entirely, as you'll see shortly. And then along Castillo Street, while the current project sort of maintains the general overall massing maybe, if not roof style of the previous structure, we've removed these stairs that were a point of much discussion before along Castillo Street, and that circulation has been brought interior to the site. We'll see some differences in the elevation as it faces, this is facing the blank wall of the market adjacent. And then this is the facade that was facing our northerly neighbors of Santa Barbara Genealogical Society, where we've lost this cantilevered balcony element. Oh, yikes. Okay, we'll get there eventually.
Apologies to the applicant.
Thank you. There
Our
we go.
system is fussy.
But also if you hit the Z key, that will allow marquee zoom. And then we also have the icons at the top panel that will allow you to marquee zoom and switch to the cursor and the hand and whatever you need.
Understood, thank you. No matter how many times I'm here, I need the tutorial each time. So this is a perspectival rendering of the street corner showing the big move. So as not to bury the lead, the really big move was to relocate the primary pedestrian access to the corner and to use that to create a sort of architectural element and relief in the corner. So it's no longer just this rounded site wall there, but it really becomes the primary entry to the site. And then we, as we'll see in subsequent images, changed the styling really of the elevations along Castillo Street. And then what we'll see along Montecito Street here is, ignore the creepy floating blue square, we'll see the notable lack of a tower element. And generally that the styling, while still traditionally Spanish, has been pared down substantially. I would say at least the massing has been simplified in general, and the massing that houses the first floor garage has been pushed back. And again, the tower element removed here. So there really is no pedestrian entry now along Montecito Street, and that elevation is quite a bit quieter, I would say. And the vehicular access, hopefully our commission will agree, is less prominent. Okay, and then along Castillo Street, while we lost the stairs to the second floor unit here, we've introduced in the site wall this more, say, decorative element in the site wall to give that elevation some interest and to provide some porosity or some views into the site. Okay, the project, the scope of the project remains unchanged. It's still a 9-room hotel. We do have 9 parking spaces and a first floor garage underneath a second floor. The general footprint of the building is similar with the changes really that I just pointed out, primarily aiming to make that vehicular access less prominent. And one other thing I'd like to point out in the changes that we made is there's more opportunity for landscape pockets, I should say deeper landscape pockets with the massing that we're proposing now, including a landscape pocket that's actually in front of our recessed pedestrian entry at the street corner there. Okay, looking at our flat elevations, which maybe tell the story in a slightly different way. I'll start with the Castillo Street entry. And again, the renderings of the landscape, loosely align with what we have in the landscape plan, but this is in fact a planter deep enough to accommodate some palms, some more vertical elements for this blank curve facade. And you'll see the opportunities for some, arguably limited, but when nicely detailed Spanish detailing to provide interest to, again, what is a very sort of simplified massing for the structure. In general, we're maintaining a 9-foot plate throughout, although we do have an 11-foot plate only at the first floor at the garage to provide the clearances that we need. Okay, along Montecito Street now. Formerly, the tower element was generally located here. And again, that massing pushed back from this. The other element we had that we had some lively discussion about was a turret at the corner of this structure here. The turret sadly has lost its life in the last 18 months. It's my hope, however, that in losing some of these more charismatic decorative elements, that if we can bring nice detailing in with the wrought iron work of this design, that it still gives the project enough movement and character. I hope your commission will agree. Look forward to hearing your thoughts. Okay, I'm just going to end with the site plan to touch briefly on changes that were made there. Okay, we do still, here you can see how far back the garage, the mass, which extends out over here, was pushed back for the garage entry. And then we're seeing that site wall, which really starts here and curves back substantially into the site to accommodate that planter that I referenced before here. That site wall is a 6-foot stucco wall that then steps up here to 8 or 8.6, I believe, for this decorative element, and then returns back into the building. As we come around the back along the north property line, along the Genealogical Society, we're currently proposing a 6-foot stucco wall. That's varied between 6 and 8, currently at 6. Okay, the last 18 months were an exciting time where there was a lot of coordination with transportation, primarily around the access, et cetera, for the garage here. And so now that that's worked out, we look forward to your commission's comments on the architectural design.
All right, does that complete your presentation?
It does, thank you.
All right. Okay, so now we'll go to public comment.
All right, thank you, Chair Grumbine. At this time, I haven't received any speaker slips, and I'm not seeing any movement. We also do not have any virtual participants at this time, and we didn't receive any written correspondence for this item, so I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Grumbine.
All right. All right, to the commission for questions.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Drury.
there was some concern by the Seon Library, the Genealogical Society building, about privacy, because you sort of overlooked that garden that they have. Has that been addressed to the satisfaction of the Genealogical Society?
I certainly, thank you for the question. I certainly can't speak for them, and I would say it has been quite some time since we've spoken with them. We were coordinating with the gentleman at the time who has since left, and I'm afraid I was not contacted by anyone subsequently.
All right, thank you.
All right, other questions?
No, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Butler.
So I didn't see him in the presentation, but maybe this is for the future. Anything, a landscaping plan and a lighting? I'm interested in the hardware, basically, on the outside of the building.
Understood, and I can only use words to describe them at this point
Okay.
because it's not in the plan set, but certainly the intention is to use a traditionally Spanish wrought iron styled hardware.
And then a follow-up question. On the Montecito Street, the illustration shows, I think it's a wall treatment. I just wanted to make sure I'm reading the, keep right there. Nope, further up near the three windows that are, what's to the left of those? That right there, what is that?
Okay, Hurd, I think that will be clearer if we look at the flat elevations. And we're seeing that here. It's a recessed balcony.
Is there a door to it?
So there's no, it's decorative, correct?
No, it is actually a functional balcony, and I'll flip us to the second floor plans.
Okay.
Slowly but surely, we'll get there eventually.
How do you get to the?
And here we're seeing that here. So it's actually quite a deep balcony off Suite 205.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, thank you.
All right, other questions?
Yes, I have, Chair Grumbine, I have a
Yeah,
question.
Commissioner Ensberg.
So can you just describe the circulation, how it works for people who, this is a hotel, so when they're driving into the garage, and then they would go up to their unit, or how does it work? Is this like a keyless type of thing, or, and then how does that work with the main entrance out here at the street?
Yes, thank you for the question. So it is important to understand that it is a keyless entry situation, and this hotel is an annex to a much larger hotel a few parcels down Montecito Street. And so the intention is that a lot of the sort of classic functionality of a hotel is located there. The lobby is there, much of the facilities and back of house stuff happens at the main hotel. So if one were to drive in the garage entrance here off Montecito Street and park, there then is a gate that you enter through here. So this is essentially a walkway that provides entrance just to the trash and housekeeping, et cetera. And this is just a curb, not a wall. And so anyone parking in here would simply come through this gate, and if you're on the second floor, you have stairs here, or you'd walk around the courtyard and then up to the second floor here. And this is just the primary entrance to the first floor units, of course, is just down through here. Now, if you do come through the pedestrian access, because of our base flood level, we did need to elevate the site a bit, and that's why we have, to save space, this sort of curving decorative pedestrian ramp as well, just to provide accessible entrance. But if you were to come through and you did not need or want that ramp, you'd simply come up these stairs, and then you'd have access to the courtyard there.
And where's the elevator?
There is no elevator in this hotel.
And follow-up, so that entry gate, the one at the corner there, is that locked then so that people who are staying at the hotel would have a special ability to get in, but otherwise it would be closed?
Exactly. It would be a card key that generally is kept closed.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Okay, I'll ask one sort of more general question. Was there a certain, seeing the shift, was there a certain inspiration, seeing the shift of language that you have? It's not a drastic shift, you're still in Spanish Colonial Revival, but losing the turret and losing some of the detailing and simplifying things to more simple Spanish. Was there a certain design direction that you were going for, or inspiration or precedents that you were looking at that caused the shift, or was there something else?
I would say it was driving around town and talking a bit about the older Spanish-y buildings that we saw, and initially trying to justify ourselves the tower-like element at the front of the building, and then coming to the pained conclusion that it simply wasn't going to work and I couldn't justify it to your board. We came to the conclusion that if we just kept the massing and the roofs as simple and gabled as possible, we're going to pull it all the way back there, and then we're going to add some decorative elements. So we lost a lot of the parapets, and we didn't have any rooftop equipment or anything that the parapets were helping us to hide. Admittedly, we will have solar panels, but we won't have all of the equipment is housed interior to the site. We have a utility enclosure in here, and we have a utility room here. So since we didn't need any of that on the roof, we just didn't have a justification for varying the roof types.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, that's great. And then actually, two questions. Can you go to your last elevation? I think you kind of zipped by it pretty quickly.
Thanks. Here we're along Montecito Street. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, right, I did not explain each of the elevations, which I happily will, but stop me when we're at the elevation about which you have your question.
Yeah, was there one below that, or no?
I see.
Yeah, okay, that's the one that
Ah, yes, and so this is the elevation facing the northerly property line.
And then can you keep scrolling down through just to make sure there wasn't anything else that was,
I believe
or
they're
sorry,
all
down, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, keep going down.
Well, I believe we're at the bottom of the page here.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to see the whole thing. In
Sure,
terms
here,
of
here,
all
here.
The rest, because I think you kind of paused at that point and then.
Oh, I'm sorry, the pages of the set. Understood.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
not the page, but the pages. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
So we do have some sections that indicate the sort of central courtyard-like nature. Here we're seeing the higher plate of the first floor garage structure. You're seeing that higher plate here as well. Otherwise kept at a 9-foot plate. And thank you for pointing out that I did fly right past our landscape plan, which I meant to use to illustrate these deeper planter pockets and the opportunities we have now with some of these bigger, deeper planters. And how the intention was along Castillo here. We do have a planar building elevation there. But I'll tell you what, when I drove around town looking at Spanish detailing, I mean, time after time, I just couldn't believe how many blank white stucco walls there were. And how okay it felt. And so it was a real helpful exercise at my age still, I have to say. And so the intention, again, give ourselves a bit of a deeper planter pocket so we could have some higher landscape elements.
Got it. And then could you go to the roof plan?
So what I would say here is we don't have calcs to justify necessarily or to determine exactly how many solar panels we need. The intention here was to say, well, if we have a lot, how do we propose to use them? And the general intention was to hide them, even at the cost of some efficiency, along the northerly roof slopes here, essentially to push them as far from the streets as we could. So that's what you're seeing.
Yeah, okay. Great. Okay, any other questions? All right, let's roll the comments. Who wants to start?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll jump
Mr.
in.
House?
I appreciate the simplicity, and I think it's all going to be in the details, so I look forward to seeing that. So I would give positive comments to the Planning Commission.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
I agree with the Vice Chair. I like the fact that it's moved to a much simpler palette, much more supportable, I believe.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Butler.
I think the significant change is the opening of the front entrance. I think moving it to the corner is a wise condition, removing the tower, et cetera, et cetera. So I like the simplicity or movement towards that. As I mentioned earlier, it'd be fun to see the lighting and, the real hard finish recommendations. But I know this corner actually had a work vehicle burn up at the gas station. It's where this is located. So I can attest to, truck had a name even, so long live Charlene. So anyway, I think this is a much improved approach, and it enhanced further addition of landscaping, I think, will make it an appealing prospect.
All right, other additional comments? Commissioner Lenvick?
Yes, I think it's a good project. I think its simplification has made it a better project. And I hope that when you come back, that you will have had the opportunity to continue your observations around town and maybe do some more fine tuning. The entry columns on the corner, I think, could be larger. I'm not sure we need the light fixtures on top as such, but you could do something there to make it, to identify it more as an entry, pedestrian entry. But I think it's a good project, and I don't know that staff, the project was here 18 months ago, which means it's lost its prior value as a review. Would that preclude people from commenting and today on this project? It's almost a new project.
As far as I know, again, I really wish we had Ms. Ostringer here. As far as I know, the amount of time that's passed since the last review doesn't, change the procedure at all in terms of whether or not you're allowed to comment if you were absent from the last hearing. But we do have the previous plans available if you want to review them.
Sure. Mr. Chair.
Oh, but I don't know if that was where you
I
were getting
think
at.
If I,
I do know that an approval is only good for 6 months.
But there,
so
This was never
this
approved.
project has
approved.
never been approved.
Yeah.
So it went through one concept review, what was it, June, July 2022? July 6, 2022. Generally, there's not as much lag time between, when we see a resubmittal, but this applicant has been working towards, getting to the Planning Commission, and there's kind of multiple parts of this. I mean, you're looking at one site, but this is part of a larger hotel that is on a completely separate site. So you can imagine the complexity of trying to coordinate between the different projects. So it's back for concept review, and it's currently going through our completeness review process in order to be scheduled at the Planning Commission for the development plan. And so.
So although I don't think it's on here note-wise, so because you're probably going to go to the planning commission before you come back to us, is that the general plan?
I'll jump in on that. So generally, most applicants want to have positive comments from the design review board. So,
assuming you get positive
yeah,
comments. So
assuming
far,
that there's positive comments, that there aren't going to be major design changes that would impact the type of planning approval that might be required, or impact kind of what the planning commission, or again, if there's another land use approval, of the staff hearing officer, in this case it's planning commission, that an applicant wants to feel confident going to their land use approval by having a design that is supportable. So that's why today, again, just trying to reassess after these substantive changes to kind of get a direction. And then you're not making any kind of, there's no action. But what Ms. Rydell requested earlier is that it would be really helpful to comment on the project compatibility findings to kind of see to what extent this project is getting in that direction, or again, kind of help refine your comments. So when they do come back to the HLC after the Planning Commission meeting, that it could be scheduled for project design approval. There wouldn't be we would schedule it immediately for project design approval upon, if this were to get Planning Commission approval.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense in general. So, Commissioner Norton.
Mr. Chair, I just want to add my voice that I think this is a superior revision to what we saw originally. I foresee no problem in in establishing compatibility findings for the architectural design and the urban strategy of how it occupies this corner.
Sounds like a motion.
Great. Well, let me at least make my comments. Commissioner Ansberg? Not so fast.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to, I pretty much agree with what everyone else has said. The only thing that I'm feeling is it feels, how does it connect, to these other buildings? How do we know it's a hotel? It feels like you said, you drove all around town and you saw a million white walls and they were all really pretty. Well, this is the same. So I'm trying to figure out where is that distinctive piece that makes it connect to the other? What's the branding, in other words? So but otherwise, I mean, I think it's very nice. I'm not being negative about it, but I just am, how do you bring a little bit of romance to it? I guess I'll put it that way. And I'm thinking that to me, that planter in front of the gate, I don't think is necessary. And I think it's sort of hiding the gate, and that the gate is your really prominent thing. And so I would see that gate might be an opportunity where you could do something really ornate or unique, or maybe it has some kind of signage associated with it. And that you could just lose that planter and then have more of a highlight there. So that's one thing. And then the other just very minor thing is the wall, the garden wall with the arches in it. I don't know, somehow it just feels kind of thinnish, just kind of sticking up, and it feels a little weak. But I like the concept of it. I like the arches, but it just feels like it could be a little bit more something. So those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Early?
I think there's a similar detail with those arch perforations on Santa Barbara Street or Garden Street. Upper East Side, there's a wall that has a very similar detail in it with perforations. It's a nice touch.
Sort of like
I
a apartment.
Yeah, it's like a courtyard.
Courtyard, yeah. It's up, I think it's on Garden Street. I think
I know which one you mean.
it's worth studying. And I had a similar thought as well, that element needs to be studied. It's nice to have an element there, but I don't think it's there yet. But it needs, sort of start looking around at openings in walls.
Not many of them, but.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's, Commissioner Ansberg?
Following on that is that maybe, since you lost some of those elements, the cupola, the things that you had before, maybe this could have a little bit more something on it to kind of bring some detailing down to the street level that would be part of this. So something, I don't know.
Like a three-story
You'll figure
tower.
out something cool, but.
Garage opening.
Yeah, Commissioner Lenvick?
Yeah, one other comment, as I look at the straight-on elevation, the west elevation, you have two units, two-story units. They're separated by stairs, and I think a simplification would be somehow to bring that whole facade make it as one as opposed to two elements.
And have a puncture and opening through it.
Yeah, some way to bring those two together. Now they're so thin and tall, and something more substantial there might be a one unified elevation going through it with a stair or whatever. Just an idea is all.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to have to leave.
Okay, so thanks. We got Commissioner Jordan for 4 more minutes.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'll attack on my comments here. I think in general, it's very clear that there's strong support. I like a lot of the moves, including the stair insertion up in between the two gables, and I do think that could be studied as well. The only other piece I would ask for additional study as well on is that hasn't been mentioned is that balcony that's next to the garage. I think that needs to be studied more. Yeah, there's basically it looks like there's three. Yeah, it looks like there's sort of three versions of the simple bracket that you have for the garage, and it's not there yet. But it's the concept of a decorative balcony there, something interesting there is good. So that would be the only other additional one I would say to add is that balcony on Montecito Street. On Montecito Street. Okay, so let me summarize the comments, and then maybe someone can who wants, because it's sounding like this, they're all in general positive with additional studies that we want for elements, but not as a whole. The mass, bulk, scale, those types of things seem good. I'll add one more comment that I thought of that there may be some opportunity for the intersection of the gables on Montecito Street, the slightly offset intersection. I don't know that that's totally resolved, or that there couldn't be a slightly better way of resolving that the butting of the two gables where the wall planes are different. I would just ask to continue to study that. I don't know if the one gable extends further past, even though it's just mechanical space or whatever, but it seems that that's a bit of an awkward. I want to say I can remember George Washington Smith doing something similar at some point, so I don't want to be too harsh on it. Yeah. What about that? But it seems like it's worth looking at. I'll look around the room first. Okay, so I'll summarize the comments. So in general, the commission is very favorable with the design changes and feels the simplification is an improvement overall from previous design, and generally supportable. The areas of additional study include the balcony on Montecito Street, second-story balcony above the garage on Montecito Street, and I'll just list them off as additional study. We won't need to get into how or what. The entrance in the corner, a corner entrance with the suggestion of removing the planter and restudying that entrance to be even more special and more branded to announce the hotel. The wall perforation, the three-arch wall perforation on Castillo Street, to restudy that. And let's see.
Mr. Chair, would you add to that note that we like the idea, it just needs to be refined?
Yes,
or-
well, that's a good point. We like the idea of an opening within the wall, a decorative opening within the wall, but that it needs more study. Garden wall, yeah, good. Let's see, any other ones that jump out as, also the stair between the two gables, the stair going up to the second story between the two gables, to study as well a potential other design for that condition.
And if you could include, you don't need to necessarily go through the project compatibility findings, although we can if you would like to, but maybe just a general comment on whether or not you feel like they're met at this.
Yeah, and so I think we could just say that they're, in general, we're feeling that project compatibility findings are being met. Yeah. Okay.
Can we include the comment about how it's designed to connect and be relatable to the other buildings that are part of, this
the
hotel
hotel.
is like a,
Yeah, and so, I think that's a good point. And so also to look at how to connect this to the buildings to each other, so that they feel as very strongly as a hotel, and then also to the other branding.
it's
So-
not connected literally, but
Yeah.
that there's
Yeah.
something in the design that tells you, so if you're staying at the one and you're going over to see someone else, you're in a wedding party or whatever, you'd be able to find it without just looking at the number of the address.
Yeah,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Doran.
that might mean that what we would like to see is a Montecito Street elevation the next time. In other words, this was the building. The next time, we'd like to see a little bit more of the street for just that reason.
Mm-hmm, that's true. Yeah, okay. That's a good point, and also for its context anyways. So, okay, so elevations, elevation along Montecito Street. All right, any other comments?
Do we want to, for the planning commission's benefit, want to make any comment regarding the relationship of this project to the Genealogy Society? I think there's enough separation between them. I think there's, this is a piece of architecture that would fit in. So I personally don't find a problem.
Yeah,
with the
okay, I think that's
proximity.
another good comment to make, that we think it is sensitive to the adjacent,
Right.
to the adjacent properties, including the Geological Society. Okay, great. And then any other comments want to be added to that? All right, does someone want to make a motion?
Does it require a motion? Then I'll move.
So the
Second
motion would be
comments.
to continue to the planning commission with those comments.
Continue to the planning commission.
And I'll second that.
All right. Commissioner Jordan seconds, Commissioner Uli motion. Under discussion, any more discussion? All right. Can we have roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Chair Grumbine. I'll take roll call vote. Commissioner Uli,
Yes.
Commissioner Dordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Drury,
Abstain?
Commissioner Ensberg,
Yes?
Commissioner Butler,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindvik,
Yes.
Commissioner McClure,
Abstain.
Chair Grumbine.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. And it's 3:10, meeting is adjourned. All right.